Olson. I'm the area director for Central Florida Vocational Rehab. The state's divided into 6 areas. But since I'm local here, I came to give a presentation on what we know about VR, what we suspect about the future, and to gather questions from you so they can be specifically answered. Because VR is a very huge topic. And after waiting for about 10 years, we finally got a new Rehab Act. We're no longer called the Rehab Act. We're part of WIOA, which is a workforce act. That creates a situation where we will need to collaborate with our partners, APD and Career Source, ourselves, adult education. I'm already sitting on several boards, and they're all suddenly very interested in VR because our program will now become part of their program, and what we do to place the disabled individuals in jobs will be counted under the workforce and career source goals. So even our whole way of evaluating ourselves will be changing drastically and aligning with the workforce. In a way, I believe that's good because the concentration now will be on getting employment. And much of what I've been here 35 years, so I've seen a lot of money go into medical restoration, education programs that did not result in employment, evaluations that were turning people away, and much unsuccessful outcomes that I think could be more positive outcomes if we use some of the tools we're developing for our future evaluations. There's a diverse population here, so I don't know if I can cover every possible scenario, but I'm going to talk first about one of my favorite topics, which is the discovery program that we piloted here in Area 3. We've been developing this now for over 5 years, I think. So we first started working on it in 2010-11. It was a very, very small group in the pilot, and it's a very intense program to go through. The successes we've had here in Area 3, we've been tracking every single referral we've made to Discovery over the past, since 2011. Out of 80 referrals, 89% of those completed the discovery process. 76% of those consumers who completed the process were referred to supported employment programs. As of June 1st, this is very current data, I just pulled it up. Of those who were referred for the SE services, 44% have obtained employment as of now. But that we still are working with the other individuals to get employment. That doesn't mean only 44% got employment. 44% of those that went into support employment have obtained employment so far, and we continue to work with the other percent that actually made it through the program and were referred to SE. And of those 44% that obtained employment, 63% have completed the 150 days of supported employment and been successful outcomes. I don't think we had this kind of success when we had the straight supportive employment program. And I think that Discovery is kind of changing that whole model. Also, in the new WIO laws, Discovery and customized employment are emphasized in WIO.
So is that program going to be copied in the other?
Yes, it's growing through to the other areas. It's a bit of a hard sell to vendors, but now we have 2 classes going, one at USF 3 times a year, and we're creating a new program for Discovery training that starts this summer with a slightly different model, but it's still Discovery. And we have, what is it, 25 vendors signed up for that. So the capacity is growing. It grew much slower than I had anticipated. I thought when I first got involved in this that it would just go on fire and become something that everybody wanted. But I'm actually happy that it is growing slowly, because we're getting some really fantastic outcomes from it that I hear over and over again, that we're working with people that have been around a long time, in and out of the VR system, have not been successful. Multiple vendors have worked with them and don't want to continue, that are becoming part of these statistics, success stories, and employable and employed in jobs that they really, really like because of the discovery process, discovering what they're good at, and being able to customize the job for them.
Wayne, can I just mention,
Yeah.
for some of you that may not be familiar with Discovery, Wayne's giving you some really good statistics and numbers about it, but Discovery is in the VR system relatively new, as he explained, and it really came about because we had a lot of individuals that were interested in employment who might not have been successful in it, or who might have thought they might have disabilities that were too severe to be part of VR. And so Discovery gives us another way to look at individuals and to look at their strengths. It's a very strength-based assessment. It's all very positive, and we're, when Wayne's referring to vendors, we contracted out with specially trained staff, and they spend a lot of hours with the person at their home, if they go to school, volunteer, day program, and they really capture where that person's at their best, and what those skills, how they could use those skills to translate over into employment. So it's not for everybody, but it's for individuals that might need that different view of themselves and their skills, and it helps families to know where someone may have strengths. It helps our VR counselors be able to provide more informed services and to know where to go with career goals. It in and of itself is not a job search program, but all that information then is used, and referrals can be made to the supported employment providers that Wayne mentioned. So it's a fairly new piece for VR, but it's another way of really looking at, truly looking at people and where they're at their best and how we can help them, because we really want everybody to have that opportunity to be employed. So we don't want an assessment that just tells us they read at 10% grade level or they're 5% math. This doesn't do any of that. It just gives you a really personal profile and gives you an idea of where you can go. And VR really is committed to serving those people with most significant disabilities, and that's just one new strategy that we're employing. So I just want to make sure you, when we're talking about Discovery, what it is, so it would help you as you consider things.
Okay, and another piece of the new WIO Act that actually has already gone into effect is the PreEmployment Services in the high schools. In the old model, we pretty much relied on the school system to provide services to individuals who were still in high school. And this population includes those individuals who have actually left high school but are continuing to attend up to age 22. because they're considered still in high school. So under the pre-employment services, we will be able to recruit clients and pay for job experiences early on. We're being encouraged to recruit sophomores for programs like Project Surge, OJT, pre-employment training, which is like a class to learn what you need to do to keep a job, what you need to be as an employee, a good employee. Discovery can be done while they're still in high school. Project Search is a program that is growing around the state. We're opening a new one right here in Kissimmee, hopefully in the fall. That program will either be for seniors that during their senior year, or that group of individuals who have continued to go to school beyond their graduation age up to age 22. That actually is the ideal population to access because they're still in high school, but they need that experience through the Project Search, a year-long program that encourages that they go to an actual employer every day. We support that through like an OJT, but it's not an OJT. And hopefully we will be able to pay transportation to get there for those individuals that are unable to pay their own transportation. So they're getting a high school experience, but they're actually getting a work experience during the whole year. And if the employer is someone like Florida Hospital that we have here in Orlando, they go from various stations learning different jobs within the hospital, and then at the end of the year they can say, I like that experience number 2 the best, and they go back there and delve into that experience that they like the best, but they got a variety of experiences throughout the hospital. And these are somewhat skilled jobs that are better paying than going to Burger King or something like that.
Do students still have to be associated with the high school to do Project Search, or just under age 22?
They have to do, that's a high school program. That's one of the pre-employment services programs that is only available to those individuals that are still in high school. But many of our students continue to enroll in high school after they've completed what is now a certificate of attendance. It used to be a special diploma. They continue to go to high school up to until they hit 22 and age out. Those 4 years are a perfect time that they could go into Project Search, get work experience, and then leave high school and go to work. Yeah.
Okay. You were saying that pre-employment services are in high schools. Is that just in this area?
He was raising his hand.
Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is it just in this area or is it statewide?
That is spreading statewide fairly rapidly. The first one I was familiar with was Brevard County. That's still running at Health First in Brevard. We have, how many sites do we have here in Orange?
We have 3.
Three in Orange and 2 in Seminole, and 1 opening in
So it has to be a
Kissimmee.
program in your area, because I'm in the Panhandle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I keep
I
getting
don't know if
different
there's any in
answers of the
Panhandle.
ages that they actually get involved with my child, so, that's.
There's
why I'm
still
trying to-
pre-employment services though, everywhere.
Well, they told me they could come in and do evaluations, and that's it.
Project Search has to be modeled after the Cincinnati model that created pre-employment services. We're offering to every high school in the state, including what are the private schools called? Charter schools,
Yeah.
and all of them. Anybody that's in high school can access our pre-employment services. One of the problems is they have to do it outside of the school experience. So once they leave the campus, they go to the pre-employment services with one of our vendors sometimes the issue becomes transportation. We should be able to provide help with the transportation for those who can't afford to attend the summer OJTs or
Well, that's why I was wondering, you were saying they can start as early as a sophomore.
we're recruiting them at the sophomore.
Okay.
Ma'am, to answer your question, generally we recommend that somebody applies to us for VR services 2 years prior to exiting high school. So let's say if somebody stays until 22, then that person might want to start maybe almost when they're reaching 20, so 2 years prior. So if you're graduating like as a senior and so 16 years old or at the end or the end of their sophomore year, beginning of junior year would be a good time to do it. But if you're staying until the age of 22, then you want to do 2 years before that. So does that answer your question a little bit?
A little bit, but with the director talking last night, she said that VR can get involved as early as age 14.
Well, we can get involved as early as age 14 if somebody's in danger of dropping out of high school, or they need our services in order to maybe help them stay in high school or retain and give them information. So as in an advisory capacity, yes, we can get involved at the age of 14 or beyond, so that is true. But again, it really, one of the beautiful things about vocational rehabilitation is that it is really individualized, so it really depends on where that person is at and what they need from us at that time. But generally, if somebody does need us at the age of 14 because they're in danger of dropping out of high school and need resources, and we can come in as an expert with the expertise to help that person stay in high school and give them hope and information, then yes, we're going to be in there. But as a standard practice, 2 years prior to exiting school would be a great way to start. Okay?
I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce Kara DeSange. I was nervous because I turned that camera on back there. Kara is my area supervisor in my Orlando office. She's also had over 8 years experience in the supervisor of a school to work unit in Orlando, which is a unit that only does school to work. So she's my right-hand expert, left-hand expert in the school to work. But even that's changing. Everything is changing so rapidly with Reemployment that we're all learning what we're supposed to be doing. We've always been encouraged to recruit our students in their, like she was saying, 2 years before. It's critical now that we recruit them because we're actually able to provide and pay for to our vendors work experiences and classes. And before we couldn't do that. Before the school had to do that. Now we can offer these services, these work experiences during their years in high school to prepare them and give them knowledge of what it is to work. And one of the things that's also changed is in the past, VR had to have a specific vocational goal to work with an individual. We couldn't do anything without that. With that school population, the pre-employment, it's more about a generalized goal, a work experience, so they can assimilate to what it is to work. And really, we've had them 2 years to help that person decide what direction they're going to go when they do leave high school. A much better idea than having a 2-day work eval or even a 6-week discovery. Having worked with with the clients over a several-year period is going to give us all kinds of knowledge about their vocational potential. I got lots of hands raised. That's why I didn't prepare a presentation, because I figured this was going to go, ooh.
I live in Broward County.
Uh-huh.
My son goes to a school that has a STEPS program, which is an aftercare through the YMCA.
Uh-huh.
And he's going to be working for 7 weeks this summer, 30 hours. He's getting minimum wage. Is that your discovery program? Is that the same thing?
No.
And then when he turns, I forget, when he graduates, he goes to the last 4 years in a PASS program. That's not the same thing as what you guys have a different program, or is I'm confused? I don't know if these are the same or not.
The STEPS has nothing to do with VR. STEPS is somebody else's funding that, basically.
Yeah, the family care
We,
or somebody. Child care counselor or something in Broward County. Yeah.
Children's Services.
Children's Services, thank you. So is the PASS part of VR or not?
No,
That's not either. So this is something else.
but it could be someday.
Okay,
In
so these are
2000,
only
in
schools.
2016, we will be going into sub-minimum wage jobs and recruiting clients from there to become VR clients and get what is defined as competitive integrated employment. We don't give any credit for shelter, and our job experiences have to be real employment. That's probably the difference of what we're talking about.
So he's
That may be a sheltered employment.
because the job search is there the whole time.
Well, not being familiar with the program, I am afraid to give too many answers about it, but it's not one of our programs. A program that we sponsor will be about obtaining skills for a real job, a real career direction. But in WIOA, which started this whole conversation, there is a segment that next year, in 2016, we will be recruiting from those types of programs for clients to go to real competitive integrated employment. This law is so vast and has so many new rules. It's being implemented in stages over the next 5 years, I think. And the first stage is the PreEmployment Services for the high school students. Yes, ma'am.
High school student that we've moved to a private school with an McKay scholarship, are they still eligible?
Yes. Private school is any high school program. McKay, they're still in high school. They can apply and be given pre-employment services if that pre-employment services is somewhere in the area where you can get to it. Not everything is in every area. Discovery's not in every area. Project Search not in every area. But there's vendors in every area that should be able to provide some form of pre-employment services, such as the classes that train a person what it is to be working.
I would just point out, make sure the private school will contact what we have, or if not,
Yeah.
you contact them, because I was
Right.
expecting my son's private school to do it, and he didn't get processed till senior
Right.
year.
That's a very good point, because we don't have the connection with the schools like we do with the public schools. We're pretty much in the public schools. The private schools sometimes get forgotten, and you've got to take a little more activity to get your son or daughter referred from a private school. We're supposed to be covering every school in the state, but there's a lot of schools, and we have limited numbers of counselors. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a waiting list? I know that most of the programs that are available are posted, there's a waiting list house and everything.
Our waiting list is improving rapidly. Right now, at this time, we put no Category 1 clients on the list. Category 1 is someone with the most most significant disability. They have multiple limitations, they have need for multiple services, they're going to need services for a year or more. They do not go on a waiting list at all right now. They go straight into a counselor's office and decide what services they might benefit from. The Category 2 individuals are also coming off the wait list now at about 250 a week.
What is category 2?
That's a person with a significant disability, but not as severe as the Category 1. The reason for categorization is, so under the law, we serve the most significant disabilities first. That we are able to maintain our capacity to pay for things, and that we don't overload the population that we have working for us. As caseloads have now gotten small, we have the money to serve people. That's why the wait lists are open. The wait lists were created to control some of those factors. When we were low on money, or the caseloads were too large. Now we're in a good position as far as wait lists. And in terms of APD population, I've been encouraging our folks to recruit individuals from the APD wait list that aren't eligible for APD services, but might be interested in employment services through our agency. And we have other options for providing the follow-along services, which in the past APD always provided. But there are other ways that we can provide the follow-on to maintain employment. What we do in the area, oh, go ahead.
Are employment services through your agency available for people that have aged out of school?
Absolutely. We have, and most of our caseloads are adult caseloads. But we generally refer to as adult caseloads. They are people out of high school. There's no age limit on applying for VR services if you want to work, and we can help you evaluate what appropriate goals would be for that individual and get them back to work. So we work with all kinds of programs, workers' comp cases, APD. I mean, the referral sources that we have are endless. Therefore, our budget sometimes gets because. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, for an adult, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll ask you.
For an adult that's a VR consumer, what about the individuals, a micro business, do y'all?
The micro businesses we have not been getting involved with. We were approached here in the area.
What about it, self-employment?
Yeah, but the micro businesses are not considered self-employment under our guidelines. So we have not been doing any of the micro businesses. Basically, we have to work with the individual client to get the employment. A micro business is a bunch of clients going together to create a product and sell it. And it doesn't really fit our model, so we haven't had any success, and we discourage APD from referring those particular individuals that wanted a micro business. But APD, I believe, is still supporting and pursuing some of those micro businesses. I've heard, yeah, there's some going on. I mean, you're saying you're trying for them. So I think APD is still supporting that type of business. There's certain things that APD can do that we can't. Enclaves, we don't get credit. If someone goes to work in an enclave, again, it's a group of individuals going out to work that are all disabled, and the job coaches takes them to the work site, they do the work, and then they go home after work. Many times they don't get paid minimum wage. So there's certain rules that we have to follow that include an integrated setting, working side by side with non-disabled individuals. It must be at least minimum wage, or we can't count it.
How do you spell it,
Enclave you would get through an ADT, adult day training. How do you spell it? ENCLAVE. Yes.
You mentioned something about services for a year earlier. What time frame were you referring to that 1 year?
From the time your plan is written for the goal that you're going for, it must be estimated that it takes a year to obtain that goal in order to be categorized most significantly disabled. A Category 2 doesn't need to meet that goal. Category 2 can meet the rule of 6 months or more for services. And then there's a Category 3 that doesn't need, can take a day. No, we're not working with any threes.
Then my other question is, I'm hearing from a lot of parents that kids are being determined to be non-serviceable through both rehab. What's your criteria and what are you looking at?
What is non-service?
Meaning that both rehab won't provide them services. They're too severe, they're not employable, whatever, but I'm wondering what criteria you're looking at, because I'm hearing a lot of this, just in the community.
The future of that, from what I read in WIOA, is going to be anyone that wants to get into an ADT or sheltered employment must first attempt through VR to go through a trial work period or multiple trial work periods. That's another significant thing in the new law. That hasn't actually kicked in yet, but that's when we'll be going out to the ADTs and
Was it
saying,
passed?
pardon me?
Was it passed?
The
So it
WIOA?
hasn't kicked in, was it passed?
Well, WIOA passed last July, not this July.
So it was
The
passed
full
and
act
signed
takes
off on.
effect July 1, but there's segments of it that are being implemented down the road. So the sub-minimum wage rule won't go into effect till June or July of 2016.
And that's a federal.
They didn't want to slam all this on us all at once because, you know, it's significant changes and we're having to learn how to do it, make rules, put them in our counselor manuals, figure out exactly how people are asking questions and wondering. I myself had spent a significant part of this week investigating and trying to answer questions on a few project searches that are in my area.
So you're saying, going back to her question, that nobody is going to be turned down anymore as unemployable? Eventually?
The model would, no, people will still be able to get into an ADT, but they'll have to come to VR first and attempt a trial work period or multiple trial work periods before they will be allowed to attend the ADT. Am I saying it wrong?
No, you're saying you're close.
Okay.
Starting July 1st, 2016, nobody who's between the ages of 16 and 21 will be allowed to go into a sheltered work setting. ADTs and sheltered work settings usually exist side by side, but they're not the same thing. The sub-minimum wage setting, a lot of them are the same people. The same people hold a certificate to pay sub-minimum wage as run ADTs. The ADT thing is not affected by this, but sheltered workshops and the enclave that he's talking about, generally speaking, are going to be classified as sheltered work settings. So come July 1st, 2016, any 16 to 21-year-old that is being looked at for that kind of setting has to be a mandatory referral to both rehab first, and we have to try a lot of different things over a reasonable length of time. And the question, because it hadn't even started yet, they're still at this point trying to determine what is a reasonable period of time, how many times you have to try. And in the end, if we work hard and try hard and the customer tries hard and family tries hard and it's just not going to work out, then we will have the ability to sign off and say this person is okay to go into a sheltered work setting. Understand, though, that even as I say this, there are people who are working very hard in Washington to do away with sheltered work, period. So right now, they've just made it an option that is more like a last resort. You can't go right into sheltered work. We have some high schools in Florida, I've learned, that have contracts with sheltered workshops, and people go straight from high school into sheltered work. They don't even get a chance to try competitive integrated employment, and I think we can do better than that. But in the long run, there may be individuals for whom that is the best choice. And if that's the case, then at present, because it still exists, Voc Rehab would say, this person we've tried, it's not going to work out, they can go into a sheltered work setting. But at this point, we're just trying to get all the rules ironed out and figure out where the pipelines are and who operates sheltered work settings. And everybody, not just it's actually 16 to 24 for sheltered work. And all of those individuals in sheltered work settings, even if they're over 24, will need to be approached by Voc Rehab or somebody that we contract with so that they can learn about alternatives, like there is such a thing as Voc Rehab, and if you want to give us a try, then we can work with you. So twice a year for the first year and then annually afterwards, anybody who's in sheltered work for as long as sheltered work continues in this United States will be advised about Voc Rehab and invited to participate if they want to. So basically, I think as of the end of March, 40% of our caseload was 16 to 21-year-olds. In another 2 years, I don't think I'd be surprised to see that 60%, at least, because that's where we're headed clearly, is trying to serve people when they're younger to get them steered on the right path. Or at least give them an opportunity to try it.
Thank you. Yeah, the law is in draft form. That was a question I even had. What, is it an ADT? Is it sub-minimum wage? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Much of it is undefined.
And they do
Yeah.
often go side by side, but they're
Yeah.
not the same.
How does that intermingle with SSI benefits? If somebody's getting SSI to have Medicaid or, I mean, and you're saying that they, you know, that how much, they can only make a certain amount, right?
They're a couple of doors down the hall, they're doing.
Yeah, that's a very complicated procedure.
But I'm just asking, what's the
No, certainly it interfaces.
Right.
My staff who do particular work have taught me is that in terms of financial benefits, it's almost always better to work. You're almost always going to come out ahead if you have some kind of job. But I understand that the reason most people are concerned is because of medical benefits, like Medicaid and Medicare and your SSI. And even at that, there are a number of programs that the Social Security Administration has set up that give people an opportunity to try it out. But you have to know what you're doing. You have to be working with a benefits planner or benefits counselor who can tell you how to do it. So one of the things that we do in both rehab and we have to get much better at is referring people for whom this is a serious issue to benefits counseling and making sure that they get the straight scoop on this is how it will affect your benefits and here are your choices. You know, you can work so many hours.
That person will help you with
The
that.
voc rehab person's not going to know necessarily, but they will know who in their area does benefits counseling.
Okay.
But it's a great question because it is important and it's something you have to consider. Because what we love is for everybody to get a job where they have medical benefits. Or we'd like the legislature to pass something so that people can have expanded Medicare or Medicaid benefits.
I know that students, I
Anyway.
wanted to take it to work. I know that students that have SSI can now work and make up to 7,000. That's not even counted, they have to report it, but it doesn't count against their income to make their benefits.
And again, this is the kind of stuff that goes into.
I think you're talking about SSD.
No, SSI.
SSI is a formula for reduced benefits.
But
After the
students,
first
so if you're a
80
student.
Oh, students,
So if
oh.
you're a student, because we're talking about students right now. So if you're a student, they can work and earn an income that is not counted against them.
That's
They
just
have
high
to
school
report it to
students, right?
SSI just for high school
That's,
students, just for
there's a new
students.
rule there too.
Yeah, just for
I didn't
students.
know.
They can make up to 7,000. And
Okay.
they do have to report it, but that 7,000 is not counted against their income towards their benefits. It's like a free pass, so to speak.
Yeah, that's good.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If the sub-minimum wage goes away, and that is the latest trend, and I think one state has already abolished the sub-minimum wage, which allows people to go to a sheltered employment and to put widgets together, and instead of earning $8 an hour, they might be earning $2 an hour. If that goes away, and the shelter workshops have to pay these people minimum wage, they're not gonna be hired. They're not gonna, they'll all go under.
I
So that
think what she
whole
was saying,
concept is going to,
no, there'll still be ADTs. What she's saying,
yeah,
there'll
but
still
how
be
are they
ADTs.
gonna
Some
try
minimum
people out on
wage.
vocational skills when they have to pay them minimum wage to pay them $8 to do $2
The ADTs
worth
will
of
still be
work.
allowed to function. That's not, from Ms.
I
McKinley
mean,
saying,
in
that's
the
not
area
part
I'm
of the
at-
sub-minimum wage rule.
Almost all the contract work is gone. There's very little contract work in 4 different agencies that have ADTs. And there's a micro enterprise going on, but the contract work is, it's history. They're doing activities, they're playing Wii.
Yeah, well, see, that's an ADD program. I wouldn't
Yeah.
possibly be able to answer
So,
that.
yeah,
But the
you-
sub-minimum
trend
wage is like
right now is
the
that work
enclaves
is
and other
just going
jobs,
way out of agencies. And they're gonna-
niche contracts, things like that, that they're getting paid just below the minimum
I
wage.
mean,
They're not talking about
So
contract
they're gonna
ADT
try all
workers.
these people, you know, on these jobs before actually,
But
there won't be
you're
any
not
time.
hearing me. That ADT is not going away. Only
Right,
the
ADT is-
sub-minimum wage jobs that they're actually
Right.
doing real work but not getting paid the wage. That's what's changing. Yeah? Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah,
And it's,
what I'm gonna do is throw it up. It's like, VR didn't
Yeah.
think this up, number one. But secondly, this is a national issue.
Yes, it
And,
is.
and that's why, when I hear people say things like, oh, I hate politics, I'll never get involved in that. I think to myself, do you understand that every day of your life you're influenced by decisions that people make in Washington or in Tallahassee? So what I would say to you is that if you believe that there's a place for sheltered work and that it shouldn't go away, get involved. I mean, it's like, what can one person do? There are organizations that you can belong to, like advocacy organizations, that do have the ability to give you information on what's happening, but also to carry your message. That there are a lot of people who don't think this is the best idea in the world, because this is America and that's how it works. They gotta hear both sides. And so far, they've heard a whole lot from people who think there should never be any such thing as sheltered work or supplemental wage. So again, there are pros and cons on both sides, but
I know, I can
be
tell you
a
story
voice
after
and
story.
let your voice be heard. You also, we have senators and House of Representatives, we have people we elect in Florida and send to Washington. Find out who yours is, because what they like the best is hearing from constituents. I can tell them stuff, and it's like, yeah, you don't vote for me, do you? Bye.
Right.
So, constituents, I have a story to tell you. This is what I see. This is what my life is like. I wanted you to have this perspective to take with you to Washington, because you're going to be voting on this stuff. And any person has access to any elected representative or senator, whether it's for Tallahassee or for Washington, D.C. And they depend on those of us who vote to talk to them and tell them what we need. So I'm encouraging you. This is an issue that seems to be important to you. Let somebody know about it who can do something about it.
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
You mentioned before like a 6-month time frame for the level 2. If the individual wants to do like a specific type of work that requires training that's longer than that,
They would-
then
If that's the part of the formula that's keeping them from being a Cat 1, and we're agreeing to send them to a program that takes longer than a year, or even close to a year, because the time for the year includes our job placement and follow-up of at least 3 months or 150 days. That's that specific formula for whether you're rated 3, 2, or 1. And none of the 1s are going on the wait list. We're looking at some of the 2s now that may have been miscalculated, and especially that issue. If their services are going to take close to a year to complete, then we're changing them to 1s and they're coming off the wait list.
But I
So-
understand that he's talking about the initial eligibility
Yeah.
and the categorical assignments. Because we can't serve every eligible person, then we do have waiting lists. And in order to figure out how do you prioritize those waiting lists, that's what he was talking about. That was part of the criterion for whether you get put in category 1 or 2 or 3. But if you come into both rehab services, then it doesn't matter if you're in a program that lasts 6 months or 2 years or 4 years. We'll support you through that, okay? So
Yeah, it's not-
his talk was just about how do we prioritize customers for service when they first apply.
okay.
Somebody had asked about the wait list, and I went off on how you get on the wait list. I don't think the wait list is really a problem right now. Not much. Not what it was. Yes, ma'am.
I'm new to Florida. Where would you go for your first step to find a benefits counselor?
The VR counselor can refer you to the benefits counselor.
Are
Benefits
they in a
counselors-
geographic area? Or?
Yeah, a benefits counselor works for Social Security, but they cover a geographic area. I think there's several benefits counselors in Area 3, but they're assigned by Social Security. You have this area, you have this area, but the VR counselor can make a referral for you. Or you can check with Social Security and they can tell you where the benefits counselors.
Now, if they work for Social Security, are you dealing with the same questions that you have when you go to Social Security, that you need to know the answer before you could ask the question? Because, you know, there's working with Social
The
Security.
purpose of benefits planners are to encourage people to get off benefits and go back to work full-time or part-time. Go back to work, reduce benefits.
Right.
The whole idea of benefits counseling is, here's how you can get back to work
Okay.
and how it will affect your benefits individually.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please address summer OJT? What age is a student eligible? It seems to be the best kept secret for students. What age do they age out on that? Also, how does that coordinate with VR counseling once they've left school? Does that make sense? So start and finish for summer OJT.
Summer OJT, if it's a pre-employment services, is only for individuals that are still in high school. That age range is 16 to 21 for that particular group, because you got to be old enough to work. These are real jobs. So I think 16 is the minimum age you have to be to go to work, and 21 is the maximum age you can be to still be in high school under the FAPE rule. So that's specific. That's very specific to that group for pre-employment services. Summer OJTs don't apply once you get out of high school, because what we want to do with people out of high school is an OJT to help them get a job.
So why is my son's VR counselor at age 22, he just finished up in January, graduated, talking about a summer OJT. Tried Discovery, that didn't pan out with 2 different vendors. So why is OJT being discussed if it's only a thing while they're in school?
No, they're still useful when you leave high school and still want to go to work. An OJT is a very good way to search for a job, but it wouldn't be the summer OJT. It could be any time during the year because you're not in high school. It's called the summer OJT when you're in high school, because that's probably when you're not going to be so busy in high school that you have the time to work several days in a row or throughout the summer. That's the only reason it's called summer.
Okay, so it's just
If somebody wants to do an OJT, it is summertime.
Yeah.
So they might have said summer OJT, but it's.
Right.
But it could have been any time of year.
For kids who are still in school, we're going to be setting up OJTs for when school's not in session, and so we have been calling it. It could be called a Christmas OJT.
Yeah.
You know, if it's over the holidays, but I
Once
think
you're out of high school, it's just
we
an
do
OJT.
OJTs for anybody at any age. You can be 60 and having an OJT, and if it's in the summer, someone might refer to it as a summer OJT, but
Is it only for a specified time, like 3
no,
months?
it's for how long does it take you to learn what you went there for. This is the difference between kids and other people. For kids, an OJT is really, it's not connected with a particular career goal. You don't have to, well, let me start with the adult side. If you're dealing with an adult, then the on-the-job training experience is going to be something that ties in with your career goal, what you think you want to do. And we'll try to help you find an on-the-job training experience that will help you figure out, is this really what I want to do? But also give you some skills in that area. So how long does it last? The answer to that is, what exactly are you going to learn on your OJT, and how long is it going to take you to learn it? And it could be 4 weeks, it could be 4 months, really. I mean, it comes down to each individual. Why are you there? What do you want to learn, and how long is it going to take? There is no predetermined limit or time period for OJTs. Kids are different, because children, young people, may not know exactly what they want to do. So on-the-job training experience for kids, the difference is they don't have to be tied to a vocational goal. That's a new thing. Because in our old world, they didn't have to be tied to a vocational goal. Not anymore. They just need to be a job training experience that'll give you exposure to something that maybe you didn't know about. It'll also, again, teach you some skills. It'll teach you workplace behavior, like you have to show up on time and you can't leave early. Stuff like that. You know, but it's not tied to a job like it is with a grown person.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
What does a vocational rehab counselor, what is the scope of that position? Because I have a daughter who's in Oklahoma and she has Asperger's. She has one that helps her with life skills too. So I'm confused on what exactly is the scope?
Life skills is independent living.
So
And
that's
there's an
all.
agency that does that,
Right.
that we would refer you to.
So vocational rehab is.
Vocational rehab is about getting a job
Okay, but
and
you also
preparing
provide
for a job.
education for a job, training. So it's all training really, that's specific.
Well, training for a specific vocational goal, if that goal is appropriate for that individual. That's the role of the VR
So
counselor.
if they change their mind, then they can go into another program and try something else until they figure it out? Is that how it works?
Sort of, sometimes.
Yes.
But you can't just willy-nilly go into, oh, I don't like this, I'm going to change it. That's why we do assessments to determine, will this person be able to succeed at this type of job prior to signing and agreeing to a plan for you to receive the training for that job goal. We have to feel comfortable that that job goal is appropriate for that person to work in.
And some of the benefits would be a bus pass if they could go on the buses. 'Cause my daughter
Bus
gets
passes is one of our
unlimited.
services that we provide.
Yeah, those
If
are.
it's connected to a training program that we approved
Thank you.
for
I
funding.
understand.
Yeah, we don't just give bus passes because
It
I
all
want to go out
has
and
to be
look for a
related to
job.
work. If
Yeah,
it's related to
absolutely.
work and it's something you need, then it could be provided. Thank you.
I have a question. You keep talking about training programs. So are you, is it a training program for an organization? Like do you place them in a place, say, Walgreens, CVS, something of that nature? Or are you talking about secondary education?
All.
So
We
if
have-
something that they were interested in, say, that involved vocational education, and you help them.
Yeah, vocational education could be obtained through an OJT, special programs like we have with Walgreens here in Orlando, a vocational school, a community college, a college.
We pay for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Does it help them with the services to navigate through that secondary education?
Absolutely.
I know
That's one
that-
of the main things that we do, is help navigate through the world of work and how to become prepared for the world of
Well,
work.
with some of the education stuff, so for instance, somebody who transitions from high school who has maybe an IEP in place, who is cognitively high functioning but not as high functioning as say a mainstream college student, is there resources to help that person navigate the college system? To help
Yes.
someone have to walk them through the step-by-step process?
Well, the schools should have it partially, but now, with the new pre-employment services, we can get involved as early as the sophomore year in helping individuals navigate through that system under the new law.
We're going to be developing a service called peer mentoring. And what you just described would be an excellent use of peer mentoring. You have young people with disabilities who have already navigated through it, who already are being successful and know what's going on. And if you had a child who was connected with folk rehab, then one of the things that we could do when we get it set up and established is buy peer mentoring services to help your young person move into the education arena and start to figure out how you take classes, how you sign up for them, how you drop them, how you get help with homework, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we can do that. We're just getting it started, but we're going to be able to do that.
And most of the colleges also have an office that can provide a lot of that information and support as well.
They're not very good.
Some of them are better than others. Like, the community colleges are really, really good. Here in Valencia and Seminole, they have strong programs for disability services right there at the college. Some of the four-year schools may or may not be as strong.
Some of the private schools are receptive, I've been told, like Lynn University, I know is one, and
Yeah.
There's some other ones.
FAU isn't though, just for future reference.
Well, maybe you don't want to go there. There's
No,
lots of
I
options.
don't.
That's something to get counseling on. Find out which schools are most supportive.
I'm gonna
But the
get
problem
back
is
to
you
you
have
and
to-
tell you that they just changed some stuff, you might wanna revisit that.
She's saying they changed
Unfortunately,
it.
New offices
The time is
for
past.
disabilities.
We moved on.
Well, at the time, you were wanting to go there. It wasn't
My
supportive.
daughter is 20 now.
Yeah.
We gave it a shot for a year and it just fell apart, unfortunately.
We got 5 minutes, so get your questions in quick. I'll try to answer them
What is
fast.
being done to forge a more solidified relationship with DOE? So when kids are 18 and they're graduating high school and going into the PAD program, nothing is being done at that point to bring about rehab or other services to the table, to look at, and the schools are doing things the way they've always done them, and there's no cohesiveness going on at all. And there's no, I just don't know.
I'm going to let my 8-year school work supervisor answer that one.
Okay.
I think the key is this continual education and communication between the VR counselors and the school district. I know at least in Orange County, I can speak about that because this is where I've done it for many years. There'll be like new teachers coming in all the time, so there's always a brand new learning curve for somebody that's new. So what we had to do is every year go into the schools like it was a brand new year and continually educate even not only our parents and our students, but also our educators on the benefits of vocational rehabilitation, when we're supposed to be invited to the table, what type of referrals, we would like to see from them, students with IEPs and 504 plans, or even physical disabilities, or students that may not have been identified at all that can benefit from our services. So again, it really is just a collaboration effort that needs to be had on both levels. And especially now that all the diploma options are changing, and even as we talked about WIOA, but the school district in itself and how they're doing things is changing. So I think it's even more, important that we really have that open communication and meet probably the summer before school starts with maybe the educators that do a 12-month program to prepare for the year coming up. So that would be my recommendation, and that's what we did every year, because we understood that, we work with new teachers, they don't know. So it really is our job to educate them on the benefits of our services and when to be invited to the table.
I would suggest for people that have children that have been out of school for quite some time, you talked about how you re-educate the teachers in schools, but those of us who have children who have been out of the school system for quite some time, I can speak for myself and I can say that I am just totally lost in the alphabet soup of the state of Florida. And nobody asks us or sends us an email and says, what is it that you'd like to know? What don't you know? What don't you understand? Show me some kind of matrix as far as how things work and integrate. It's just, they just call us up and say, we need you to come in and sign this. It's time to sign this. It's time to sign that. But there's really no benefit. There's really no value that's being provided. It's just kind of rote services that are being offered, and it's just not really doing a lot of value to the individual. My son.
Is he a VR client? Or
Yes,
talking?
he is.
So we're just running him through the mill?
Yes, you are. He's 36. And he's here in Central Florida.
Perhaps you can contact my office and I look into that.
My husband and I, we consider ourselves fairly intelligent people, but you guys have just baffled and amazed us. Among many agencies, AD as well.
If you got a VR card with you?
Yeah.
One of y'all give somebody else a card that you use to check, but I want to say one thing for anybody in here to whom it may apply, and also to any of you who have friends or neighbors to whom it may apply. One of the things that I just learned about recently that's kind of on my mind, they don't have a special diploma anymore. That's gone. All kids will get a standard diploma. In Florida, the thing that you have to know, and what I can picture is that if someone gets, they're not 22, so they haven't gotten to 22 yet, and they have earned that standard diploma, but there's two choices. You can either get it and you're done, or you can defer getting the diploma, and you can officially stay in the school system until you're 22. This is critical because things like he talked about earlier, Project Search, for instance, which is available to a lot of people, but it's going to be expanded in the state. You have to still be part of the school system in order to do that. And if you get that diploma and walk and you're done with the school system, you can't go back and say, I want you to reopen me in the school system. You can't, it's over. So as tempting as it may be, and as exciting as it might seem to get the diploma and be done, you don't want to be done until you get to 22 in the school system, because it will close doors to your child or your friend's child or relative's child that you don't want closed. And because this is kind of a new thing in the last 6 months, I'm worried that a lot of people don't know that, and that they don't get the right messages from school about, no, you really should defer this. And it sometimes comes down to, well, can my child walk at graduation with their cohort? That's an individual school district decision. And in some school districts, in all of them, they should say yes, but I don't know that that's the case. But as tempting as it is, and as wonderful as it might be to see your child walk with their class, if it means that you're done with the school system, don't do it. So I'm just telling you this, keep it in mind. You will have the option always, whether you want to take the diploma and actually graduate or whether you want to defer it. The answer is, if you think you might want to do anything that Voc Rehab is involved in, like Project Search, defer it. But it's not the only one. There are also some other post-secondary programs in the state that really require the full mix of funding from the schools and from us and from the colleges. Gotta have that, you gotta still be in the school system to get that stuff. So be careful about making that decision, and if you know other parents, make sure they understand that as well.
Is there any agencies or any ability, if you've left school, you're over 22, you do not have a diploma, but you still want to continue, other than the GED,
Right.
which for my child would be too difficult. He hasn't had any of the classes, so he can't jump into taking a GED, has very severe reading issues. Is there any help available to work towards skills that maybe eventually will lead to a GED? Or is there another way to get it without a GED, which
Well,
would
there's a
be
whole
better?
adult education system in public schools that allows you to work on GED and adult education, no
sorry,
matter
so-
what age you are.
Sorry, say that again?
There is a whole system of adult education. I'm familiar with the local, it's in several high schools in the Orlando area, evening programs where you can work on a GED adult, or just pieces of the GED if you want to improve your math. And
How specific can they get towards your disability? Like, I don't know what's available as far as any adult.
well, that's not disability specific. The GED, the
Right,
adult
the
education
GED
program is not for disabilities. That's
Right,
for
but if you've
anybody
gone
that
through all
wants to
those years
work.
of school and you couldn't read well enough, now you need very specific help to get.
And then there's
To get
adult
there.
literacy league for reading. I don't think there's any age limit for any of those services at all. But that would be in the Department of
Yeah.
Education, adult education.